Welcome back. After an honestly incredible launch fortnight, it's now time for Season 1. Quite a few things have changed, while some other things have stayed the same, so the goal of today is to, in one video, help you understand everything that could be helpful to you. I'll rocket through the usual pillars of World of Warcraft, and then how professions impact this, which is significantly, and finally, a handy weekly checklist and a few tips. So let's get stuck in with our sponsor. Squarespace.com/Bellular. They are the easiest way for you to build your web presence quickly. If you want to stand out, you gotta check them out, and 2023 is going to be a pretty big year for us, actually. I know that I want to hire up, and a part of all this is, of course, looking professional. I mean, we don't even have a corporate site that we can link people to that's like official, so that's kind of like my Christmas challenge, and I'm doing it with Squarespace. With them, I know it will be easy. I mean, hell, here's LinusMediaGroup.com. It's a Squarespace site. We're almost like a small version of LMG, so it's nice to know that Squarespace will fit, our needs, because, I mean, damn, it fits the needs of a large organization like them. I mean, my guys are busy making videos right now, so having Squarespace's incredibly intuitive editor lets somebody like me, who's not trained in that domain at all, actually just get the task done, instead of having to go through the time-consuming and expensive process of getting the whole thing made from scratch. Squarespace really is an amazing value add. Whether you're on my side as perhaps the business, maybe you're an individual who wants to put together a kick-ass portfolio that will win you clients or perhaps impress employers, or if you're somebody wanting to spin up some e-commerce, memberships, the like of that. Squarespace has got you covered, so hit up squarespace.com/Bellular Gaming for a free trial where you can build your site, play around with their tools, and then send it live with 10% off an annual plan with code Bellular Gaming. Normal, Heroic, and Mythic open on the 14th, as does Mythic Plus, with 0 Week 1 restrictions or caps. PvP Season 1 also begins on that day, as does the spawning of our world boss. LFR Wing 1 also releases the same day, but the rest of its wings do drop over the subsequent weeks. Also, bonus tip, the incredible developer of Castle Pinaplia does have a new version for this raid, and wow, it's really came on, it's awesome. So if you want a fun game to play, and also a fun way to learn some of the fights, I could not recommend it highly enough. Well, now that you've got your mind geared, let's talk about gear. Raid gear does see a number of changes, most notably the new group loot system. The TLDR is you have nothing to worry about, as the new need and greed rules are very well implemented. Bosses drop items from their loot table, regardless of your group composition though, so it is ideal to have a mix of classes in your group so that you don't get loot that you can't use. There are also 0 trading restrictions in raids, so your group can still distribute loot as they best see fit. Next, there are actually even more item level brackets within each difficulty level, as you can see on our charts. As the bosses get harder, you're going to get better loot. In addition to that, 4 of the bosses in this raid have a special piece of loot. These are designed to be more memorable, more powerful, have special effects, and they are flagged as very rare on the Dungeon Journal. Blizzard's idea is that repeated farming of the raid, like your farm runs, they will still feel good, because there's still a chance at having a drop of what essentially amounts to a mini legendary. So pretty neat. And then finally, here is our tier set bosses, as well as their item levels. Season 1 rating is going to span 389 to 424, sporting a new looting system, special items, and more gradated boss drop items to better reflect difficulty. But BOE items also do feature again. They are different though, now having a guaranteed source rather than the previous system. A guaranteed amount of bind on equip items that is proportional to your raid size will drop from the mini bosses that you face within the raid. BOE items do feature in Dragonflight. Now, they were initially going to be revamped to be 100% drop rate for mini bosses, but a last-minute technical issue prevented this. So now they'll drop from any mob, but mini bosses will have a higher drop chance. Now, so as to prevent farming, they cannot drop from trash before the first boss, but otherwise, BOEs are BOEs. Potentially, they will be a bit more likely because of this change where they are more likely to drop from the mini bosses. The only asterisk here is Mythic difficulty. Blizzard are making BOE items drop as BOP for the first few weeks of the game. Basically, they don't want the size of your coin purse to have an outsized impact on the raid. And then finally, the raid skip only requires you to kill Razageth 3 times instead of the usual 4. Tier sets are available from the raid, and they're going to be in the Great Vault. The Vault is of course going to be the only source of tier gear for people who do not raid until January 25th, 2023. This is when the Inspiration Catalyst opens. This catalyst will let you turn pieces of Season 1 gear into tier gear. You'll be able to earn 1 charge of the catalyst every week via a quest, but when you do that quest, every character on your account is going to get a charge. That does mean that a fresh alt, a few weeks later, is going to be decked out in tier gear quickly. And what's really nice is that back in November, Blizzard announced that there will be no extra currency. So instead of having to grind Cosmic Flux, which your alt may not have, no, you just do the quest, which is going to involve doing your seasonal content anyway, and then your alts will have charges. So there's no Season 4-like situation where your new alt character has plenty of charges, but they have to grind a shitload of Cosmic Flux. A massive improvement. Mythic Plus works much as it did before, but the difficulty curve is a tad higher from plus 10 onward. Personal loot is active, and you'll get 2 bits of loot from the end boss chests if you have timed the key. If you don't time the key, then you'll get 1 bit of full item level gear, but the second bit of gear will be a lower item level, and you'll deplete the keystone. Feels good. Out-of-time keystones do still count towards your Great Vault at their full level, which is nice. Gear item levels scale all the way up to Mythic plus 20 now, where end-of-run rewards will be 405, and the Vault will be 421, which is mid-level Mythic. Upgrades have also changed just a little bit, with an additional upgrade level being added that brings your gear to item level 415, which is low Mythic raid level. Then Lidormi is this expansion's keystone vendor, and beside her you'll find portals to Shadowmoon Valley, Jade Forest, and Legion Dalaran, which does make the more mixed up dungeon pool of the season a bit more convenient. PvP has a whole new eye level system, and War Mode has its own form of gearing. With the new gearing system then, overall, PvP gear takes on a higher item level when in PvP combat. Honor gear scales up to item level 411 in PvP, while Conquest gear scales up to 424. But then, we have to add to this mix, War Mode gear. This Drakebreaker set scales to item level 408 in PvP, with the upgraded version scaling to item level 421 in PvP, which is very high, just a tad below Conquest. Now this World PvP stuff even has a set bonus that's kind of nice. The World PvP gear is acquired through bloody tokens and world quests. You'll get bloody tokens when you're doing the War Mode weeklies, War Mode supply crates, and killing other players. The upgraded War Mode gear then costs Trophies of Strife. This is a weekly capped currency that you get in return for doing a quest. That quest is given to you by the vendor in Valdrakken. Content-wise then, it is the usual of arenas and rated battlegrounds, but of course also, Solo Shuffle Ranked is now here, which does mean that you can get the best PvP gear in the game as a solo player, and that's kind of exciting to many because the random and shuffle nature does mean that meta comps are a bit broken up in Solo Shuffle, which to some people can offer a more level solo PvP sort of playing field. Now upgrades do still exist, they are still done with the honor currency, but these upgrades only impact the PvE item level of the item. This is a smart change. It's borrowed a bit from Warlords of Draenor. It ensures that PvP players have a more level playing field while still having PvP gear progression and PvE gear progression. Good work overall. And if you want to get started in PvP, there is one final set to talk about, and that's Crimson Combatant gear. This gear has a level of 398 in PvP. Not massive, but certainly getting 398 in PvE gear is way harder, so just buy this from the auction house or craft it. It should be fairly affordable, and it basically gives you a gearing journey of crafted gear, honor gear, conquest gear. The Great Vault returns, and with some improvements. Raiders and PvPers will find a nice decrease to their 3rd slot requirement. The token-based backup system also returns, where if you do not select something in the vault, you can get some tokens. You'll get 2 tokens if you've unlocked 1 slot, 4 if you've unlocked 2 slots, and 6 if you've unlocked 3 slots. Now, for these tokens, you can buy a gem socket item, which will cost you 6 tokens, or for the cost of 3 tokens, you can get 10 Primal Chaos. Now, Primal Chaos is used for high-end crafted gear. Now, this is a bind-on pickup resource. It's a very important resource to your endgame gearing, so this will accelerate you along the path of gearing. Basically, if none of your vault options look good, then maybe 20 Primal Chaos will be enough to let you craft a nice upgrade that you know you'll be able to use for a long time. And what better way to segue us onto professions than that? Strap in then, this is where massive change has been seen in the game versus the past. This is extremely relevant to all endgame players in a way that professions just weren't in the past. First, we have Titan Training Matrixes, where the rank 4 version is the only one that really matters. It will make the starter crafted gear be all the way up to item level 382, just below normal raid gear. Now, as many people are still actually increasing the crafting skill on their characters and going through their specializations, it does likely mean that many people cannot make a Titan Training Matrix 4 bit of gear at that maximum quality level. They'll maybe be a bit closer to item level 372, which is the base quality level. These are found from Mythic 0 and bosses and from world quests. Next then, what you're really here for, which is the Primal Infusion gear. And for this, a number of soulbound reagents are going to be required. First up, we've got Sparks of Ingenuity. So you go to this Titan console in Valdrakken and you do the quest line. The first quest line is available now, or at least quest, with the second one then unlocking at the same time that Season 1 unlocks. So by the start of Season 1, you'll be able to have 2 sparks. From then on, we're going to be getting a new quest in this chain, become active every 2 weeks until we have 5 sparks. And after we have 5 sparks, we'll be able to get an item called an Essence Detector, and that will let us collect more sparks from doing game content. The system is designed like this to ensure that crafting doesn't immediately outcompete Mythic Plus PvP and raiding, while still letting crafted gear be very, very powerful initially, just a bit limited in quantity. Okay, so you've got sparks. What next? Well, there are 3 optional reagents: a power infusion, secondary stats, and embellishments. You can actually craft a bit of gear without any of these. You'll just have random secondary stats and an item level between 382 and 392, depending on your crafting skill. Power first then. There are 2 types. We have Primal Infusion and Concentrated Primal Infusion. To make a Primal Infusion, you're going to need 100 Primal Chaos and 10 Primal Focus. Now, the Primal Chaos drops from a lot of things. It drops from weeklies, world quests, dungeons, raids, PvP strongboxes. Just, you get these while you're playing the game, and you likely have maybe 50 to 100 and something in your bags right now. Primal Focuses are the bit that's harder to get. Primal Focuses drop from heroic raid bosses, Mythic plus 11 and beyond keys, and PvP rating boxes, which I have to assume means boxes earned at a rating above 1400 perhaps, maybe 1600. Now, you also get these at the end of each renown track, and also at a drop rate of 100% from Razageth on any difficulty, which does mean that casual or solo players could slowly get themselves a bit of heroic quality loot. Now, gear using concentrated primal infusions is more powerful still. It's between item level 408 and 418. That's upper heroic to lower mythic. The concentrated primal infusions work similarly, requiring concentrated primal focuses, which drop from mythic bosses, high mythic plus keys, and of course very high PvP rating strongboxes, potentially around 2100. Finally then, we have embellishments. These just give you nice added bonus effects, but you are limited to wearing 2 pieces of embellished gear. But still, an embellished, mythic raid, quality piece, that would be super strong. Don't worry if you don't do professions, you can always use the work order system where you just supply the materials, including your soulbound materials, and then offer a commission to a crafter, and you can have somebody else do it. You can also use this even within your guild. It can be very useful for coordinating your guild crafting. Now, gear can also then be recrafted to a higher item level within the item level range that is enabled by its power optional reagent. Doing so is really cheap, so basically, don't worry about crafting one of these things as soon as you're able to, but, before you're like able to fully max out the craft, because when your profession skill goes up, or your friends does, you can always recraft it at the higher item level. Weekly checklist. Now, this is not a typical list of chores. If you want to specialize in a type of content, then you do not really need to do the other types of content. Normal players should not try to do all types of content purely to optimize gear, because it's not worth the time and effort. It is far better that you enjoy the content that you like without having to get extra gains from stuff that you don't like, unless playing that very much everything style is something you actually enjoy. Okay, the TLDRs then. Raid. Focus on clearing as many raid bosses as is possible to get gear, profession resources, and to fill the Great Vault. Try to target tier bosses to maximize your chances of completing your 2 and 4 piece set bonuses, but do bear in mind the tier is not as potent this time round, because it's not really going to be marching in on the space of the talent tree revamp, as is very much standard for tier 1 expansion sets. Mythic Plus. Each week, try to complete as many keystones as you can on the highest keystone level possible, both to earn loot from the end of dungeon chest and to fill up your Great Vault. Even if you do not complete the dungeon within the time limit, it still is going to count towards filling the vault. Then additionally, try to backfill your other Mythic Plus vault slots with runs that are on lower level keystones, because with Valor, you will be able to upgrade that gear over time anyway. For PvP then, simple enough, aim to cap Conquest and fill out, all boxes at the highest rating possible. Right, that's that. Additionally, do complete the World PvP weekly quest called Sparks of Life to earn Trophies of Strife, which can be used to purchase PvP gear with an eye level of 421. Because you have a limited amount of Conquest gained every single week of the season, doing both of these will pretty much, double the amount of gear that you're getting at that very high item level, so you'll definitely see a benefit from doing that. World and Renown then. It is possible, if you aren't at a super high item level, that weekly content like the Soup, Great Hunt, Siege, and Obsidian Key will grant you upgrades. Of course, do the World Boss for item level 389 gear, and if 385 could still be relevant to you, do the Primal Storm events that will appear around the world. You want to basically get one of the items from the bosses, and those from each of the 4 invasion types, like the 4 element types. You need those to finish a quest. That quest will basically get you the item that you need to purchase the 385 version of that world content gear. You can also check the Renown track for each faction to see if you've got good gear on the Renown track, and do remember that you can get a 389 cloak from the Obsidian Key rep farm and a 389 ring from the Cobalt Assembly rep farm. Then, if you're purely a solo player, just grinding out the regular Primal Storms is going to be your best way to just get that lower level gear from the Primal Storm gear vendor in Valdrakken, with you slowly then getting the higher item level version as you complete those weeklies. At the time of writing, my character is item level 370, and I've actually been getting weekly events that give me 376 gear. Right now, we literally just don't know when that's going to stop scaling. Next, and I think most importantly, professions. So if you're a crafter, obviously do your dailies, do your weeklies for the Artisan's Medal and the Spec Knowledge. If you are caring about gearing in any way, just remember, get your Primal Focuses, get your Primal Chaos. Those are absolutely essential. They essentially act as a deterministic way for you to have a 100% guaranteed way of just getting gear. It's that simple, so really do engage with this system. Many of us have asked for something like Valor points because we want a gear vendor to act as a backup. We haven't got that, but what we've got with this basically is way more powerful and accomplishes the same goal. It's great. Finally then, just a few tips and tricks. The number one thing's pretty simple. It is, don't get crafted gear in slots that are going to be used for tier pieces. That's your helm, shoulders, chest, legs, and hands. Of course, that's 5 slots for a 4 set bonus. So if you get your 4 set, then yeah, you can fill in the other one with some crafted gear. And that essentially is it. Overall, it's a fairly simple process, but because there's been all of these weeklies, all of these reps, all the profession recipes that are on the Renown vendors, all the little things, as well as quite a few changes, decent few players have been feeling just a little bit overwhelmed and confused because it's a decent change from what we've been used to. I hope that this guide then has been able to cut through any ambiguity that was in your head, and if you have any questions, leave them down below. I hope we were able to add some value to your day with this one. So with that said, have a great day, good luck in Season 1, and if you want another video to watch, check out this one.